Chafing Armor Podcast, episode 180. All good things. Welcome back to the Chafing Armor Podcast. I'm your host and irascible Dungeon Master, Michael Corley. With me tonight is Izzy. Izzy, tell us who you will be playing.
I am playing Mrezi Mugra, half-orc barbarian, chosen hero of Beltrain.
You are not wrong. And also with us tonight is Lee. Lee, tell us who you will be playing.
I was drinking.
Gotcha.
G'day everybody, my name is Lee and I'll be playing Corvus Dragonchoked, the Were-Raven Outlaw.
And also with us tonight is Dare. Dare, tell us who you will be playing.
Howdy, y'all. I am Dare, and I am currently finishing up with Tix Birchmanson, former Cleric of Garl Glittergold, and now Paladin of Garl Glitter.
Correct, Amundo. And also with us tonight is James. James, tell us who you will be playing.
Hello, everybody. My name is James, and I'm playing Penton Chalice, Spellscale Sorcerer, and just a Sorcerer.
Indeed. And last but absolutely not least, in any way, shape, or form, we have Riley. Riley, tell us who you will be playing.
Hi, I'm Riley, and I'm playing Athora Greyfield, a Tiefling Fighter.
All of these amazing players have journeyed far and long, culminating in an epic battle with the god Falazure in the middle of the streets of Kalimvor as the entire world intersected with his dark domain. The walls themselves became transparent as you battled and fought. And finally, using the Staff of Seraphim, the chosen one, the one that through machinations of a certain Garl Glittergold had seen to it years ago that a certain half-orc would take up the ring of the Raven Queen, so powerful that it could kill anything, even a god. And with it, and your trusty halberd, you slew Falazure. And now, as that shockwave resounds through Kalimvor, we begin the end. As you hear a boom, as a cannonball strikes the side of the wall. You might remember that the walls were previously charged with necromantic energy that was about to kill every single person in Kalimvor, which you fortunately stopped, because you had the great sense and duty to help this place get their precious pearl, the perfect pearl. And their resident god was able to oppose Falazure for just long enough. But unfortunately, those walls are mighty crumbly now, and they are now crumbling under this assault as the kingdom of Beltrain blasts its way through the walls. And as the smoke clears, an army is coming through. At the head, you see the king of Beltrain, King Alam, who previously was your boss, Penton.
Yeah.
You were essentially the court magician, which was an unofficial title. You were seen by the other magic users as little more than a court jester, but the princess very much liked you and thought well of you, not least of which because you saved her life, but also because you journeyed with her all those years ago, Princess Alviana, to find the Staff of Seraphim to stop the god Set from coming through this world. And now King Alam, along with his elite troops, come through that wall, and you also see a young and battle-ready Princess Alviana, and she is yelling, "Charge! Charge! Kill them all! This is our only chance!" What would y'all like to do?
I think that since Penton and his mother are in the air, they probably have the most direct beeline to get there just from above.
By the way, Penton, aren't you a dragon right now?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Just checking.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm just my own bad self.
Gotcha. Just clarifying.
And wait, am I in Dragonborn form?
Well, you had, I believe you had basically been turned into a dragon with the final power-up. Now, you can choose to drop that form. It is very tenuous and will not last.
Right.
But I'm just saying that you, everyone got like when Morezi picked up the staff, all of you got like a super boost temporarily. And very technically, you are a dragon right now.
Right. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll hint at my mother to both of us head in that direction. And what I basically like to do is just swoop in and just basically land. And as I'm landing, turn back into my regular self.
Okay. And is there anything that you would like to accomplish with that land?
Just to stand in between the army and the rest of the city.
Okay.
To start with,
would you like to give me a little roll of either something persuading or intimidating, depending on the way that you're going?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a diplomacy thing because that's not cool. What would be appropriate? Yeah, let's go with intimidate. I'm feeling that.
Well, you as a dragon.
16 plus 28.
28 with the 28 as you land. There's the almost a 3-point land as your one dragon paw comes down, and as you come back up, that becomes a hand, and you have the broken regular staff that was given to you by your very special friend, that was snapped by the power of Falazure.
Yeah.
And the entire army just stops as you, and also very much so your mother, very casually lands a little further back behind you, letting you take the lead.
Yeah, she does.
In this very specific case, that she understands that you might have a better insight to what's going on, but she is an adult blue dragon, and they notice that as well.
Yeah. She's she's my backup.
Precisely. They do
muscle.
notice that there is an adult blue dragon, which most adventurers would never even hope to fight, let alone survive. But this is also a literal army, and these are the king's elite troops, and many of them do have special abilities. So they are not like, common soldiers quaking in their boots.
Right.
But nevertheless, they all stop and take defensive positions around the king.
So I'm going to, hold up for a minute just in case anybody else is, heading up in this direction, depending on what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Refresh me. Did anything specific happen to the staff of Seraphim? Like, last I remember, Morezi killed Falazure with it.
Yes, and you have also dropped it to the ground. It is literally fused with your halberd and is crackling with energy. But you have dropped it to the ground because that is why you have stopped aging.
Right.
As it literally draws out your life force.
Alrighty. Morezi, tears off her shirt sleeve, puts her to make a little handhold for the staff of Seraphim. She waves it. She holds it up, kind of waving, not like like almost how you'd wave a flag or wave a bandana like to a cruise ship. Then aggression, and she calls out,
"Hey, I don't get it, you guys. We kind of just saved everything. We just killed the god. What's the big idea here?"
Okay. And Princess Alviana, young Princess Alviana next to the king says, "This is a lie! They are trying to trick you! Did you not see him transform in front of you? That is Falazure! Attack before it's too late!" And I would actually like to make a opposed roll here.
"Yeah."
I would like both Morezi and Penton. I would like you to use either your Intimidate or you can. I will absolutely allow if you're Morezi, if you want to try to use diplomacy. And it's going to be an opposed roll against this princess.
All right.
Oh, diplomacy makes more sense, but I have a +9 to intimidate.
Well, you can do this in an intimidating fashion. You are a half-orc barbarian.
I waved to the staff of
holding a weapon
Seraphim,
of unimaginable power.
I'm gonna use to intimidate on that one. I'm gonna use that +9.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing.
Okay.
22.
And I've got 14. Or no, wait. 24. I'm good at mental math.
She rolled a 10. So even with her bonuses, you both beat her, and everyone kind of like takes a half step back, and they literally, like, when you hold up the staff, even with the cloth, there's like a whoom of power that just emanates out, and then you feel something, Morezi. You feel the staff starting to come out of your grip, like a force pulling the staff. And
Oh, crap!
You look up, and it's not the young Princess Alviana pulling at the staff. It's the old one.
Oh.
The one who looks like she's in her 80s. She is standing there between all of you, a little further back than Pinton, and she is holding out her hand to the staff of Seraphim, and it is flowing towards her.
Go, Morezi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I let go. Remember...
Hey, remember when she just did that lady over there? Just accused us of being like evil shapeshifters? I have this feeling that she was projecting.
At that moment, the staff flies out of your hand. The the broken haft of your halberd clattering to the ground as the half of the staff comes out. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was you, Corvus. Who has the other half of the staff of Seraphim?
I thought we fixed it.
No,
we were about to.
It's that you were about to, and then it fused with half of
I-
Morezi's halberd.
Didn't we? Oh, right.
I feel like you stole it. I feel like you stole it from...
You did steal it.
I did some
And,
funny drawings of Corvus with the staff of Seraphim.
I took it from Audrey, and yeah, I substituted it because Athora was being brainwashed by that
Manipulated.
demon cat of hers. So yeah.
Yep. For thematic purposes, let's say that you do have it, Corvus. You feel the staff beginning to slip out from your pack and being pulled out. Do you want to do anything to oppose this?
No, I will just stroke the top of my pack's head and let it go.
Okay, and you hear and the mouth opens, and just whoom, the staff comes flying out. And there is a moment where the two halves of the staff come together, and vroom, and they just perfectly in the air, like two rods of immovability, or
Immovable
Dungeon
rods.
two immovable rods just perfectly align with each other. And she holds out her hands. Now, technically, she is a wizard. Like, that is her training. But this isn't wizard stuff. This is old magic stuff. And she makes her hands into a half circle and then slaps them together, and the staff together. And at that moment, the young Princess Alviana begins to fly away. Like, just begins to fly away.
So
would
Tix
anyone like
is
to do
going
anything?
to step forward and hold up his new battle axe and hold up his icon of Garl Glitter Gold and cast command at 3rd level and say halt on the fleeing creature.
Give me that roll, or is that just an opposed roll?
That is opposed.
No, it's command is a save.
Willpower.
I mean, a saving throw, not opposed.
Yeah, saving throw.
She rolls a 7.
And she had to beat a 17.
Yeah.
I love the
she
DM
has,
dice today.
Decent bonuses, but I'm just and I don't even have my dice with me. You got to remember that this is intrinsic to me. That like this is not my dice. This is the app on my phone. I rolled a 7. I should really screenshot these things. But anyway, so she just like literally freezes, and you see her hand is like shaking, and she turns back and looks at you, Tix, and the hatred in her eyes. And like the way it looks when there is a Halloween mask that is just like a little out of alignment. That is what her face looks like right now.
Fun.
It just slides to the side a little bit.
Slide to the left.
And without touching it, Princess Alviana, the elder, reaches out with the staff, and there is a beam of energy that just strikes the young princess in the back, and she screams as she is drawn forward, and energy begins pouring into the old princess. And as she does, she actually starts getting younger. Now, I want to be very clear. She was about 19 when this all happened. Mm-hmm. She was a very young woman. And now she looks like was in her early 80s. And I want to be very clear that this is not like everything's fine now. Like, no. But she now looks like she's maybe like in her mid 50s as the energy just pours into her, and the young princess is just screaming as her skin cracks and withers and turns to dust around her, because it's not her skin. It is the skin of the boo hag.
Oh.
As it flakes off, and the boo hag does not have skin. She wears other people's skins, and the last time you saw her was when she was pretending to be the Witch of the Lowlands, who, besides Penton, none of you have ever met, and canonically sounds like Mrs. Doubtfire. As she is drawn forward. Now, she does not really age, but like y'all can tell, like her essence is being drawn into Princess Alviana as she finally strikes the ground below her, and is just like huddled in a heap of just spitting curses and rage. And the king is just like, the hell? As this all happens in moments. And that's when you hear something, Penton.
Oh.
You hear a scream in your mind. It is primal, and it is fury, and it is hatred. And it's coming from Audrey.
Oh, no.
And Audrey comes pounding forward. Doom, doom, doom. On those new steel feet that she has.
Am I getting a sense of like
here in your mind, Penton?
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see you again, Mother. And there's such a satisfaction in that last statement, as the sharp talons pierce the flesh of the boo hag and flip her up into the air.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just like you had seen a little bit of Baba Yaga's hut, the opening to this little chicken hut just expands as the boo hag screams, And you all don't have to see it. You know what happens as she is slammed into that skull that is at the center of Audrey. And you all hear a blood-curdling scream as every last bit of life is drained from the Boo-Hag. And then there is I'm not making this up, there is a little hatch that opens below her, like a little poop hole.
And an egg falls out?
And the bones and rags of the hag fall to the ground.
Oh, that's
Audrey,
intense.
You sense a deep satisfaction coming from Audrey Penton.
Well,
Corvus pipes up and says, I'm not getting in that anymore.
You already weren't too keen on Audrey. And y'all realize like just how powerful she has become.
Sweetie, I feel like you've been waiting for that for a long time.
King Alam, the king who was with the former Boo-Hag daughter princess, just yells out, "Will someone tell me what the hell is going on here?"
We should let the princess explain.
Well,
the other princess.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point, Marezi. You are technically a princess.
Marezi squints at King Alam. She's letting the princess explain, I think. But no, she pipes in.
Well, royal blood apparently, and needed to wield the staff of Seraphim without blowing up. I wielded it.
And then she looks back at the princess.
And the
now
princess
we'll
turns
turns
to you. And there is a moment where she holds your gaze of like, oh. There is a moment where Princess Alviana looks back at you, Marezi, and is just like, huh. At that moment, everyone, and I mean every human soul in Kalimvor, is slowly making their way towards the central square where you have this final battle. And they are all looking at you all in complete and total awe. And Magistrate Olfar Onyxword, he comes up to you and he puts his hand on your shoulder, Corvus. And he says, You all did it. You did it, my lad.
Corvus cocks his head over to Marezi and says, well, technically she did it.
This is very true. That is very true. And what you all, as the murmur is now turning into like a full, it's actually like getting hard to hear. There's so many people talking at once. What you realize is when that plane intersected with y'all's, and you could literally walk through walls because everything was getting screwy. Everyone saw your final battle. They saw the fight. They saw you fell Falazure. And they are all talking about those final moments and discussing it and talking about the final blows. But it certainly is helping to explain things to this new king. Speaking of kings, there is a sound of a ka-ching, 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 as another king is furiously pounding the ground as he's trying to get up, but he can't because King Tezrin, who is the king of Hyborian, has been put into a kind of stasis. His amazing armor of nearly indestructible metal is now imprisoning him, and he cannot move on the ground.
Wonderful.
Corvus takes a seat.
And he all got like what is it, dispel magic spell?
No, leave him like this. There's a reason he's like this, remember?
Testing.
He planned for this city to disappear. That's why he's locked down.
Right.
Marisi suppresses the urge to kick him.
Testing.
Corvus
testing,
doesn't.
Testing.
Corvus takes out some rations and begins to eat.
just have a little snack. What are you sitting on? I want to know. Are you sitting on the ground?
Tezrin.
Like you're sitting on desert. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Ding, 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 ding. You hear this. There is like a very small slit that seems to be allowing air. Otherwise, he would be dead by now because there is, he's in. He's basically in a completely sealed, like what we would think of, like almost like a spacesuit. There isn't a single like chink except for this little place for his.
Corvus casually dropped me on top of that slit.
Oh, are you going to block it off?
No. It's just like he's just putting it there so that it muffles a little bit. Air can still get in.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
it's just you be quiet now. We'll deal with
Tix
you later.
comes over and walks around Corvus and looks at Tezrin and looks at King Alum, takes a little seat down on Tezrin's thigh next to Corvus and says, "Mighty comfortable seat you have here. What do you think we should do with it?"
Well, I'm going to eat first. It's been a while since I've had any kind of meal. And then I guess after that we'll see what the kingdom or the town wants to do. Maybe we'll have a commemorative seat of our glorious battle, shall we say?
Yeah. A commemorative bench.
Exactly. We may need to hammer out some
with-
of these lumps, but I'm sure there's the blacksmith and perhaps our artificer friend might be able to work some things out in that respect.
Now, Tezrin
Yep.
is the one that has the
Rakshasa.
Rakshasa for the assistant,
Yes.
right?
Yes. In fact, I think some of y'all were nearby. It was actually a spell, incantation, something that he did that actually triggered this armor to seal it. The Rakshasa, the vizier,
I think
was the one who
Is he
seemed
still
to have
visible?
activated the spell. You want to look around for him?
Yeah.
Give me a little spot check there.
Right?
I'll do the same.
I think that was part of my confusion. I thought the Rakshasa had betrayed him, but the king wanted to have a
That was your impression,
good armor.
Marezi, but
Right,
you don't
okay.
know. You don't know for certain.
That's a 13.
13? Yeah, there's too many people out here. What about you, Corvus?
26.
Yeah. So he is disguised. He has used a very simple disguise self. And in addition to being cursed with drow eyes, you now can tell that your eyes can see through illusions. Because you actually see the image superimposed over the commoner that he's projecting, and then you see the tiger face hiding underneath as he is slowly slipping into the crowds.
Corvus deliberately makes eye contact, winks, and then deliberately turns away.
Okay. He keeps slipping into the crowds. And in a few moments, he is gone. At that moment, Dinwolf comes running up to you, Marezi, and he goes, "Are you all right? Are you all right, child?"
Yeah, well, I'm alright. Get this, man. I'm not your child. I would have thought, I mean, we kind of look alike, right? I saw the resemblance. I mean, I kind of have your eyes, but, check a look over there at, big old golden boy. I've got his eyes, too.
The king?
And not in your pocket.
And at that moment, Prognati comes up, close behind Dinwolf, as if they were close together. And he looks down at the king on the ground, and he goes, "Is that supposed to be that way?"
Yes.
The artificer. And he goes, "I am so pleased you are all right." And he turns to Dinwolf, and Dinwolf and Prognati kiss.
Oh my!
Huzzah!
That was a swerve. I did not expect that. Okay.
It just didn't come up. If y'all had asked the right question, they are married.
All right.
And
Good on 'em.
in a very interesting relationship.
I bet.
But
Very open relationship.
Yeah.
a very open relationship because the moves that Dinwolf was making on that giant were not subtle. Speaking of which,
I'm sorry. We need a side story of the giant and Prognati and Denwolf and all the other things coming into a giant polycule in the northern wastes.
Yeah!
Got to stay warm somehow.
It's a big world, and there's a whole lot of things in it.
I love that. I love that. It's just
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I just want to see.
One of the first
More of
things that
that.
Dinwolf told you when you saved him from that roper was, yes, I know the way to Frostspire. I can take you there. Because that's where his husband lived. So
Makes sense now.
Anyway, yeah.
Wait, I think it's Timberspire, right? Or are those two different
Timberspire.
places?
Thank you. Not Frostspire is the mountains.
I think it's Frost Sphere and Timberspire, which I know because
yes.
of the wiki, not because of my memory. I have the notes right in front of me.
Thank you for correcting me. You are absolutely correct.
That's fine.
It is slightly possible I've gotten those two mixed up, and by slightly I mean yes. There is one other voice that you hear. Hi, Athora, and from a rooftop, Athora, you look up and you see a tabby cat with 3 prong stripes on its forehead looking down at you. And she says, I don't suppose there's any chance you'd grab that staff for me real quick?
Grab her by the scruff immediately. Just.
She is standing on a roof. Absolutely standing on a roof.
Far away.
Now, you can try to run and get her, but she did not walk up to you.
Can I do?
You hear this, Corvus, as you have before.
I was going to say, can I do a surprise knife throw?
Absolutely, 100%, 100%.
First roll. Well, actually, it's not the first roll.
First attack.
First attack, yes, and probably, hopefully, the last one. That's a 20. Why is that a 20?
A natural 20?
Yep.
Good.
Wow.
I am not rolling again today. No, I'm not rolling again. No, stop it. Yeah, that's obviously with my homing knives. Well, they're not really homing, they're just returning, but yeah. So that's... And those are +1s. Oh, and the range is 17 to 20, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Okay. Obviously this isn't going to kill, but... Well, I don't know, that's up to you. 4 plus... So, 12 damage.
12 damage?
With-
okay.
with the data.
As y'all saw when you played these characters, these sidekicks and pets and familiars, this cat is very powerful. But 12 damage out of nowhere really hurts. And she shrieks and looks at you murderously. And she says, "You will pay for this." And she turns back to you one more time, Athora. And she says, "I am really sorry it didn't work out. I just want you to know your father would have rewarded you." And with that, she vanishes. You do not see her again. There is a moment when she vanishes where her form seems much larger than a house cat, and almost ethereal.
Yeah, no shit.
She is gone. Yeah, no shit.
You mean she doesn't
And
fade into
she
a
is-
smile and then the smile fades away?
Yes, she is one of those type of cats. At any rate, she is gone as far as you can tell. She obviously can teleport, so she could have just teleported behind you, but for a storytelling standpoint, as far as you can tell, she is gone.
Corvus flicks his wrists and cleans the blade very, very carefully and then replaces it back in the sheath. You're better off this way, Athora. Trust me.
Seeing that.
With that, things begin moving a little faster. There is a very loud sound as one of the most terrifying creatures y'all have ever seen, which is known as Marezi's mother on the verge of a rage, come barreling through, and your brother, Marezi, comes after. He says, I'm sorry, Marezi. I did everything I could to keep the army at bay, the Mugra clan at bay. It's because you had revealed to us the truth of this false god. But I literally can't say no to Mom. And she comes through and she goes, and she embraces you, Marezi. And I mean, like, your feet leave the ground. She is holding back the very edge of a rage. And it is, everyone else there is like, there's that urge to take just like a half step back as this just massive, almost elderly barbarian orc just takes hold of Marezi and lifts her up into the air.
Is this happiness aggression?
You think so? It's kind of hard to tell. And
Like she's so happy she's bordering on rage.
Yeah. And she says, I saw everything. You know that I believed you when you said you killed a god, but my child, hear me, all Marezi Mugra, twice slayer of the gods.
1.5 times,
her,
Corvus calls.
In a way, neither. I mean, those guys helped.
And her mother, as you heard before when she was telling, you had accurately told her the story of the death of Bane. And as she told it back to the tribe, it became more and more the Marezi show. And she turns back, and the Mugra clan is entering the kingdom, but they are armed. Their weapons are out, but they are not like in combat stance. And she is saying, "To the Mugras, Marezi, slayer of the dark god!" And they go, "Ooh ha!" And their staffs hit the ground, and then they put back their weapons, and both hands come out. Jazz hands!
Jazz hands!
Fill as they let out a primal scream. You see, as we said in the first episode, that Orcish jazz hands are canon.
And of course, the very first one to do those was the great and ancient orc Cotton-Eyed Joe.
That's right. We know not where he came from or where he went.
That's Nor
right.
did we know where he'd go.
So I'm going to go ahead and skip to that proverbial feast, which has happened. Will anyone have any interest in freeing King Tezrin from his prison of mighty metal?
Nope.
Yes.
I'm just curious. Now, you can believe him or not believe him, but his version of the story is that his vizier was under an enchantment where he must obey him in all things. More specifically, the exact wording is he it's not just like so that he can do like genie rules and betray him. He must do what is in the best interest of the king. And from what he can glean and what he is telling y'all, and obviously you cannot believe him, is that he believes that his vizier was doing this in his best interest. In other words, he alone would have survived. You would suspect the vizier had some way of surviving. That the armor would have protected him, and that everyone else would have been slaughtered, and that would have given him great domain as one of the new vassals of this dark god.
I mean, it makes sense. That makes sense.
Now, whether or not that's true, you don't know. It does appear to be what happened. As far as you could tell, that seems to be what happened. So Whether or not you believe him is up to you. I'm not trying to put that on y'all, but y'all, there is a great celebration where the people of Kalimdor welcome the king Alam and his daughter reunite. Also, the Mugra clan have a very messy celebration along with y'all. The giants are there, and it is this grand celebration. There is a point in the night where they are calling out, "Speech, speech, speech, speech," and they are calling out to all of you. Would anyone like to say anything?
While the party is going on, Corvus slips away out of the city.
Absolutely.
He's gone.
I'll need you to make a stealth roll. No, I'm just kidding.
I can do that.
No. This is completely unnecessary. You slip outside the city. What else would you like to do?
He has gone to. Well, first he's going to have a bath in the river, and get all the filth and muck and all the rest of it off. He could have done it in the castle, but he needed some time alone, and he kind of feels something weird in his hair, and sort of it won't come out, like it won't wash out like normal dirt.
Exactly, and this place is the exact same place where you had tied in this knot, this rope with beads knots that was given to you posthumously by Osokai.
Yes.
And a certain god, the Raven Queen, took it from you because you had lost what she had promised you, which was Osokai's fate. And there is something else
kind of tugs on
stuck
this,
in your
this
hair.
weird knot. He kind of tugs on this weird knot, and it gives a little bit. He spends more time than he probably should. He doesn't like having knots in his hair. He's not really used to having hair, but this isn't this doesn't feel right. So he kind of pulls on it, and eventually, with some pain, he pulls out a tuft of hair by the roots and just kind of begins to fiddle around with it in his hands, and inside there's like a weird tiny little piece of almost like a scrap of parchment, and he almost throws it away and then realizes that it's too square. It's meant to be like this, and kind of looks at it and and then we can cut back to the party.
Let's get back to the party. Would anyone like to say anything to the combined armies and civilians of Hyboria and Beltrain and the Mugra clan?
Oh, yeah.
I'm shocked that Tix wants to say something. Shocked that
Tix?
Yeah, I'm
Never
Tix?
a speech, never.
Oh, Tix has been getting ready for this. Tix has gone to find the tallest place inside the walls where he can see everybody and
Basically
cast the
everything.
spell Enthrall. And then begins to go on a 4-hour speech on
Lord.
how everybody needs to seek peace and should really choose to follow Garl Glittergold. And so everybody in the audience has to, I believe, make a wisdom save. And let's see.
Wow. Who would have thought the tiny gnome Tix would go on a forcible conversion speech?
Right? Talk
Does
about
it end with?
Dominism. Jeez.
Does it start with walalo ayo yo yo walalo?
I love that game.
Now that's a deep cut.
I got it.
Let's see. I've been looking for a chance to use this, so. So he gets the attention, and he gets to speak for only an hour. Oh, sorry. So just an hour.
Only
and So they get will negates. So they get will saving throws. So everybody's there pretty much gets to listen to them for an hour, talk about how they should choose peace and how good Garl Glitter Gold really would be for them to worship, considering how he saved them all through the actions of this group.
Do you know what the save is?
It's a will saving throw.
DC?
What number? DC?
16.
Oh, Marezi rolled a 15.
Well, it doesn't apply to you, Marezi. But that is amazing.
Yeah. So basically, he's convincing everybody that he's talking about how good the Hut Nuts are, how wonderful as heroes they are, how generous they have been to give of their time and adventure all over, giving a brief recap of all their adventures and everything they've done in order to save everyone, and just really encouraging them to be thankful.
Okay.
I feel like Penton would have, like, halfway through, like, considered getting a stage hook.
Hey, buddy.
Marezi's chugging. She's getting through this with orcish mead.
Maybe you crack out some of that, the last 3 remaining elven wines from inside Audrey.
Oh, yeah.
But I rolled for the crowd in general, and they got a 15.
Ooh.
No bonuses. So, a few years from now, the largest church outside of a gnomish settlement to Garl Glittergold is opened in Kalimvor.
Screw you, Isis, I guess. Wow.
The largest group of converts in a single place. There are, as y'all found when you met the constable in Massgate, there are ardents of Garl Glittergold who are not gnomes, but even he was raised by gnomes. So this is this single largest church dedicated to Garl Glittergold. It is very clear it is not the patron church of the city. That is, of course, Isis. And it is done in communion, as you might say, with Isis. There are, multiple churches here. But it is big, and it is very flashy, and there is lots of gold and jewels as part of the ornamentation. And it is one of the most impressive non-gnome church to Garl Glittergold because of your speech.
And so when Tix comes down and walks over next to Penton, leans next to Penton and says, Garl is first and foremost a trickster god. And smiles and walks away.
Corvus sidles up to the alderman and says, hey, tax the churches.
So, I believe
speeches.
someone else said they wanted to say something?
Go, Marezi.
Marezi has been sipping deeply of the elven mead, the orcish grog, the elven wine, the orcish grog, the human beer, and she stands up on a table and she goes,
Man, I'm touched, Tix. I'm gonna be seeking my peace. I think we should all be seeking peace. Not a piece of dead gods, but real peace. The kind of peace that you only get when you find out that you're a princess or something. That's kind of crazy, right? am I right? Who's with me? Who's been like this before?
That raises his hand.
Then she burps and hurls.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I found out I was princess, but I've kind of already been through, the dad stuff. I mean, kind of out of patience for having new dads. I found out, I've got no dad. It's fine. I got my mom. She's great. I've got a brother. I've got this weird guy. Oh, and he's not my dad. Oh, it's crazy, right? Yeah. You guys ever think about mortality?
We just intersected into the Barbie. That's amazing.
I didn't even know gods could die. It's crazy.
Everybody in the audience is getting a little more uncomfortable every minute.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening there. They were all like very awed by Tix's speech, and several of them are thinking about taking up a new religion.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're just all like, "Whoo!" Yeah. And of course, and like as very correctly you said earlier, like Morezi was the one who actually dealt the death blow. So like she is the one they saw like literally deliver them from certain death. So nobody wants to say anything, so they just keep listening, and they're just like shifting in their seats.
Man, I wish she'd stop talking so I can go find a gold nugget somewhere.
Exactly.
Morezi sits down abruptly and burps loudly.
And but there's a moment of dead silence, and then the McGraw clan just erupt into screams. Just roar! Yes, death comes to us all! And yeah! They freaking love it.
The McGraw clan reminds me of you know how when you're in like high school or whatever, and you've got a crush on someone in the class, and they make a joke that's kind of terrible. Not really, they're very funny, but because you like them, you laugh over loud and really try and hype them up. That's what I feel like the McGraw clan is like right now. They're just like, that was awful, but yeah, right, hey, yeah, yeah.
I think they weren't into it until the part about killing gods.
Yeah, and the burping.
Yeah, and the burping. Yeah, the burp was what set them off.
They friggin' love that. So as the night is winding down and things are becoming quieter and people are starting to head off to their beds and makeshift places and making camp just outside the city, things are quieting down, and that's when a small squirrel comes up to you, Tix, a golden squirrel, and looks up at you and says, "That was very well done."
Thank you, my lord. I thought it was appropriate. I haven't played many jokes, but it was fun to get these very tall people to come to know you.
Through you, we played the best joke of all. We snuck a princess in front of the god of death, and he didn't even know it. And as he laughs, everyone feels just like this little earthquake go through the city. It's not threatening, but it's just this reverberation of power as this amazing joke that Garl Glittergold has been setting up in regards to your companion for close to a decade, and in regards to this for who knows how long. He's been setting this up. Maybe centuries.
Best joke ever.
And he says it was very, very well done, and I am very proud of you. And that is when there is another visitation from a god, and it is outside of the city. And a young, pale woman with dark hair, wearing a dark, simple dress, an ebony corset, just very casually at her waist. She looks at you, Corvus, and she says, I see you got my message.
Yes, my queen.
What I have given you is not a gift. It is a curse. And I want you to know right now that you have every right to cast it aside. If you serve Loth, it will be a hard life, but you will be rewarded as long as you serve her faithfully. Is that your will?
Corvus, in an act of what most would probably consider blasphemy, but, you know, this is the Raven Queen, she really doesn't care that much, meets her eye and says in a steady voice, "No."
I thought not. It was my desire above all else to give you the one thing I couldn't give to Osakai. And that has been robbed from me by someone who is so terrible, so petty, that it is time for her to come to an end. My young lad, I offer you this dark curse, this future that is filled with madness and blood and oceans of tears. Will you take up my quest and kill Loth, the Spider Queen?
Osakai pulls out his dagger. Just one.
Who?
Corvus
That moment-
pulls out his dagger.
It's okay. I understand.
Hey, it's been a while. Listen, I miss the guy
Yes.
still, okay?
Yes.
That
I
braid's
spent a
pretty
long
tight.
time with the poor man.
No, I like it. It's beautiful. It's poetic.
It fit.
A vision of Osakai hovers over the top of Corvus's form. Corvus pulls out one of his daggers and draws it across the palm of his left hand, dripping blood onto the earth. And steadily
Okay.
again says, "On my vow, I will take up arms against the Spider Queen."
And there is a moment. I've told y'all in this world that magic items come in two ways. One, you craft them like an artificer, and you infuse them with power using metal and gems and spells. And then there are also moments of intersection where things happen. And in that moment, your blood soaks into that single blade. And it has now become something different. And she says, "You and I will not speak again. But all that you need is inside that scroll. I wish you the best of luck. I cannot wish you good fortune, for that is taken from you. But I can." And her eyes, you met her eyes, and you realize that if she took a step forward right now, it would be like spreading butter across bread. You would just be annihilated. But she doesn't. And she says, "I can wish you vengeance. Good luck." And she is gone. And she has one more visit tonight. As you get ready for bed, Merezi, with your clan, as they are getting ready, you have been given a great honor among the orcs, that you've been given your own tent.
I see.
And you get ready in your coarse little sleeping pouch today.
So cozy.
And suddenly the Raven Queen is just standing there.
Hey, you're not a drunken hallucination. I can tell that.
She laughs. It's a very sweet. It's low, but it's very sweet. And she says, "No, I'm not a drunken hallucination. You know me. You know too well. But I must ask, for I cannot take it. I must ask that you give me my ring back, for I need it in my work."
Oh, Is that,
She points to her armband.
Yes. She makes the slightest nod as she looks at it.
big ring? I mean...
This isn't my actual size. If I was my actual size, I would crack the side of the earth.
Oh. I learned a lot about gods. I don't know if I like learning so much about gods. Every time I learn a little bit more about gods, it's like my brain explodes. Man, this thing...
long time ago, particularly Garl, who he and I are loosely acquainted, we realized that if we did not separate ourselves from the material plane, that would be the fate of every mortal on this planet. That is why I must take that back from you. And I must leave and stop interfering quite so severely.
Well, it's served me well thus far, but I'm not trying to kill any more gods, you know?
I appreciate that.
Sure.
She slips it slowly, kind of has to wiggle it off her arm and sets it on the ground in front of her and takes a step back.
Okay. And as she does, she kind of tilts her head toward me and she says, "Do you give this to me of your own free will?"
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. And the moment you say that, because you didn't actually give it to her, you just set it on the ground. The moment you say that, she holds out her hand and it just floats up and is just like Link getting a treasure is just floating above her hand. And then she casually holds her finger up, and there's a moment where it just slides over, and you feel that whoom, and it reverberates throughout the campsite. Several turn over uneasily as that power washes through everyone. And she says, "I gave you the most powerful thing in the entire material plane, more powerful than even the staff itself. And you used it well. Thank you."
Yeah. Well, I don't know about pleasure. I liked helping.
Good. I'm glad. I cannot give you a kind or free or carefree fate or anything like that, but I can just wish you well. And I wish you well, Merezi Mugra of the Mugra clan. I hope that you have a long and happy life.
Rezi smiles and doesn't say anything else.
And she is just gone. There's no poof or anything. She is just not there anymore. Penton,
yes.
Do you want to say anything particular to your... by the way, Penton, your doll's eye crackles to life.
I was going to say, yes, that would...
Yes.
Actually, early on, I would have been checking in with
absolutely,
her,
it would have happened
to make sure that she was not incinerated.
Yes. Yes. Oh, what you find out is that do y'all remember how the evil vulture lady had done a sneak on y'all and had put up a false pedestal to fool you?
Right.
That sort of thing works very well against people who can see. Not so well against people who are using their other senses. And Scald used to be an adventurer. She gave up the life because it sucked.
Yeah.
But she and the ragtag group of Duke Vigilfist led a charge into a wizard's tower and quickly realized it was fake and was able to get down and destroy this other agent before the defenses fully activated. And so the defenses there never actually activated. It was very close, like 5 seconds on the timer kind of thing.
Right.
But they didn't activate because they underestimated Scald, and they did not realize that she would be able to see through their illusion, literally.
Everybody does.
And so she... exactly. And so she is telling you that tale and recounting everything.
He's going to ask the obviously extra powerful princess, Albiana, if she can bring Scald over to Kalimvor if she has the means.
She says, well, I can't use the staff because it would kill me, but yeah, and she just snaps her finger and a portal opens.
She is a wizard after all.
She is a wizard, and she has been infused with power by the staff. In the process of regaining some of her youth and vitality, some of the energies of the staff has entered her, and she is stupidly powerful right now as she snaps her fingers, and it's almost like with the gods. It's not even like there's not big glowing rims. It's just like almost a mirror, just opens, and Scald is on the other end. She steps right through.
Oh, hi.
Hey! And she runs through, and she gives you a big hug, and she says, "You are a sight for sore eyes."
I see what you did there.
See.
Rim shot, don't wave.
I'm glad you're here. We've got some work to do. And he's going to discuss with her how they need to start whispering in the ears of every well-to-do person on both sides, since we're kind of from both sides, her being on Mascade's side and me being on Beltrane's side, kind of like to work together to smooth things over with everyone as much as possible while everybody's getting drunk and more amenable.
Yep. And both of the kings are pretty amenable because they realize how close everything came to just utterly going to hell. And of course, King Alam is, literally embarrassed that he was deceived by this hag that nearly led him to leading this all war, starting a war. And Tezrin is embarrassed because he was betrayed by the one he thought couldn't betray him, because he reverse judoed his, you have to do everything in my best interest. And it's like, well, your best interest is being sealed up in here and surviving. So I'm just going to seal you up in here until you'll survive. Urtok, I couldn't remember his name.
Right.
Who is gone now, by the way. There is one final thing that happens tonight, and that is Athora. As you are getting ready for bed and finally taking off your armor, which you normally do not do, but obviously you always have your sword at the ready, I'm sure. And you have that broken sword and the other half of it with you. And a figure appears before you. It is a tall man, as I've said before. It looks kind of like the classic devil, in literature, where he has the slightly pointed black beard, handsome with black eyes.
Red skin.
And what's that?
Red skin.
It's slightly reddish skin, slightly reddish skin, and very small but prominent horns. And he kind of tilts his head and looks at you, and he says, "I don't suppose you'd go grab hold of that staff for me, would you?"
Draw my sword, broken or not, and take a step back.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
He laughs, and not even mean, just like dang, ha ha. I didn't think so. I was very, very close. And just so you know, if you had survived, I would have made sure that you had a great place. But as things are the way they are, I hope that you enjoy the power that my sword gives you. Let it serve you well.
Oh, I'm sure it will do much better in my grasp than it ever did in yours.
Well, it is true that it will do good, and it certainly didn't ever do that with me. Very well, child. Until we meet again. You get just like with the gods, though he is not a god, he is gone. And somewhere far, far below, in a massive cube of unimaginably dense ice, a devil who is frozen and immobile, floating down a river surrounded by insect-like devils. And a single hellcat is walking towards him. And she says, "I failed you, my master." And he says, "Yes. Yes, you did. We'll get to that soon. But until then, let's talk about getting that sword back together." And at his side is a smaller sword that was retrieved by a certain group that vanished from your sight when a certain other group came from another reality and helped you retrieve it. But he does not have the pair, and as long as he doesn't, he remains trapped in that ice. And all of the powers that you have received, Athora, you still continue to have. And we reach the end of this campaign. We're going to take a quick break, and then I want to hear some things from my players. But before we do that, does anyone else want to say anything?
Yes. It's been a very long 6 years, 5, 6 years. Time means nothing to me anymore, especially after 2020. But I wanted to congratulate every single person, whether they've been here from the beginning or whether they joined halfway through. I have watched every single one of us, all of us, grow in both our ability to roleplay, our ability to work together, our ability to enjoy a game, and our ability to push through all of the problems and struggles that we've had along the way. So thank you, everyone, for giving us this amazing campaign, and congratulate yourselves for everything you've learned and everything you've done, because honestly, I'm really proud of all of us.
That means a lot.
Jazz hands.
Could not agree more.
6 years of us together.
Woo!
So to the listeners out there who are hearing the words coming out of my mouth right now, please understand, Chafing Armor is not ending. This campaign is ending. And boy, you will not believe what is coming. But there's also some more in this episode. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll get to that. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to hear what happens next. But this isn't up to the Dungeon Master. This is up to you. And so I'd like to start with Marezi. I'd like you to tell us what happens to Marezi McGraw next.
Well, it maybe took a few elven wines to shake this out of her, but Marezi is a little bit discontent. She is thinking about things that she's never really thought about before. She's always been just, thinking with the edge of her halberd, and she's thinking about what's on the other end of that non-existent halberd. The first thing she does, the first thing that she starts to occupy her time with after the events of the final episodes is meet up with Princess Alvania. She wants to get involved with this family. She's really not interested in King Alam's role in her life whatsoever, but she is jazzed about the idea of having this ultra-powerful wizard sister. And I think that what she ends up doing is kind of becoming a very specialized diplomat, specifically for matters between the the Beltrain kingdom and the Beltrain royalty and the Mugra clan. You know, going into that half-orc part of both worlds kind of way of living. She has that ability. So even though she's not the most she might not be the most she's not Tix or Penton when it comes to her diplomacy modifier is -1, but she sees herself as being in the right position to help smooth things over in the time coming after the war. I think that she helps. She probably is trying to help whatever things that Princess Alvania is doing as she's adjusting back into her role as, princess after this horrifying ordeal that she's been through.
And it is horrifying.
But that doesn't last forever. That's like 2 years tops. And yet again, she is hit with a sense of restlessness. And Morezi decides that, she's been spending this whole time, going on other people's quests, kind of. I mean, not really, but, she's never been the character who has the most, personal, emotional stake in the adventure. Obviously her brother, but even then it's she's doing it for her brother. And I think that she wants to figure out what is her personal adventure, and I think that takes a lot of forms. She really leans into her barbarian ranger lifestyle and probably spends, throughout her lifespan after this, at least, there's a whole year where she just never utters a single word because she never comes in contact with another living being that isn't an animal. She roughs it. For a whole year. She spends some time in the Frostspear Mountains, and even ends up at Timberspire, where she meets back up with the ranger, Daylor, who, Osokai was the person who inspired her to become a ranger, but Daylor was a ranger that she met around the time that she actually gained that level and started to train. She trains with Daylor a little bit. Of course, meets up with folks such as Denwolf and Prognati. She goes on some adventures with them. She goes on some adventures. This next one is probably a little bit earlier on, while she's still kind of, her base of operations is, more city related. She actually meets back up with the Knights of Duke Vigilfist because she wants to check in on that straw-haired Kieris. Yes, okay. Morezi meets back up with Kieris, the straw-haired boy who's a little bit magic, who's with Duke Vigilfist, that she first knocked out and led on a path to glory. She adventures with him and learns some of his ways. She teaches him a thing or two about fighting with rage. And she even eventually finds herself back in the Penta Plains and takes a trip to the Temple of Animus and sees Regia. They probably train a little bit. Morezi isn't exactly getting a monk level, but she's just trying to learn as much as she can about the world around her and take it in all for herself instead of just taking it in because this is the next place she needs to be in her adventure.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it turns out that Aki is very long-lived. And and is with you at your side. And you also have chances to discover that when people mess with you, you have a most unexpected companion, shall we say, who is hardier than you realize, and is with you for the rest of your days, which for a half-orc are very long.
Yeah. Marezi has other animal companions, I think. I think that, training animals becomes something that she gets good at, but none so close as Aki.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you so much for playing Marezi, and thank you for letting your dungeon master and father sneak in a little surprise for you at the end. In case anyone was wondering, no, Izzy did not know that. That was something that I had planned a very long time ago from the first episode.
The first episode?
Wow.
There were many. I want to be very clear. I am not claiming that I had everything planned out. Absolutely not. I think y'all know me better than that. But I did have some things. I did have that Falazure was the big bad, that he had killed the god Set and was enacting these things, had broken the staff. And most importantly, that the Raven Queen's ring was the bracelet that you had found in the beginning. That was one of the very few things I did absolutely have planned from the very beginning.
Nice.
So just so you know. But let's move on to Riley. Riley, tell us what Athora does after all of this.
I think Athora, she really feels like she wasn't as good, as much of a help in the end, especially. So she really sets out to try and be more. I tried writing a couple of different things for her, but in the end, I think I decided best that she travels around for a really long time, going to different villages, helping with a lot of their littler problems, defeating bandits. She's a little more powerful, especially with her ice, and she tries to work with that. She goes around doing her best around communities, and eventually I like to think that she settled down. Never really stopped adventuring, but she picked a place kind of central among several other villages and just exists among them. See her keeping up with other people and just... So yeah, she travels around a lot and does a lot of adventuring by herself, defeating small-time bandits and villains and just random day-of-the-week stuff. And she's happy doing that for a while, providing protection and help and a sense of safety that even her village never really had, mourning the life that she probably could have had and enjoying the one that she does. She travels around and eventually she decides to settle down, and she picks a town kind of in the center of everything, and she decides to build an inn where she can help other potential parties if they need help, advice, because she traveled around for a while, and working with our group, she learned a lot. She's there to give advice, treat, and give food and rest, and she does good, I think, there. At least that was the idea.
I love that.
I like that very much. But I love all of that. That's beautiful. And Dare!
Yes.
What happens to Tix after all of this?
Well, as we've alluded to in the past, Tix has a significant other in his life. And so after everything is calmed down and the new temple to, or church to Garl Glittergold is started, and the accolades of this party are spread far and wide to make sure that both kings acknowledge that this humble troop has saved everybody thrice over. He heads back to Massgate, and he and Duncan are wed. Then helping Duncan get a new boat with the riches that they have accumulated and the favor that they have accumulated from the kings. Tix helps manage her business as her assistant and watches her business grow. And then he is asked by King Tezrin asks Tix to become the High Magistrate, supplanting Duke Vigilfist as the magistrate for the county, while Vigilfist is off traveling and doing all the adventures to get some well-needed experience for his troop. And so Tix and Duncan live in Masgate for the next 25 or 30 years. And then they decide that they want a family. And decide to move back for a quiet life to Sunset, where Tix takes up his family mantle that he had run away from, and with the accolades of the kings, is placed on the Council of Seven, which are the 7 ruling families of Sunset, between the dwarves and the gnomes and the Herringans and several other tribes. So he rules with the Council of 7 for the next 50 years as Duncan and Tix raise several children.
I love this very much, and with the actions that you have all taken by noping out the Cracklithid to another plane of existence, Penton,
You're welcome.
And also by defeating the 3 hags, finally the final hag defeated as well. The Sand Swallows Sea is still a very dangerous place, but it's way less dangerous without a kraken and without 3 powerful hags. And as such, the shipping lanes become more prosperous. And Captain Jackson, along with the help and support of your lady love, and also with the new forged alliances of the jewelry maker of Skald and the mining operation, with all of these things no longer being tarnished by corrupt men and by dark magic, they all just become much more prosperous. It's not that it's just, sunshine and roses and everything is fine. This is still the world of Dungeons and Dragons, but things get a lot better. And you get to take part in that, Tix. So I appreciate you sharing. I would like to touch now on James. What would you like to say about your future?
All right. Well, it all starts with, as I said before, Skull and Penton taking the time to patch society back together, as it were, between the 2 kingdoms, and forging truces and establishing embassies and what have you, and just making sure that things don't come to a head again anytime soon, at least not within their lifetimes, if at all possible. Also at the same time, Penton wants to works with Prognati to do a couple of things. Since Penton has been having to adapt to the lifestyle of not being an exalted and having to, do mundane things like eat and drink water and, that kind of things, and not have like magical protection around all the time. He gets his nice staff that he had for such a short time that was broken by a jerk, a dragon god. put back together and infused with as much magic and what have you that Prognetti, Scald, Princess Elviana, whoever can get into it, and that can be discussed at a future date. But suffice to say, to make a powerful staff to compensate for his magical losses, and also to help Audrey 3 no longer be vampiric. Since she destroyed the Boo Hag, it seemed like there was some intrinsic connection there that was broken, and it made it much easier for that part of her to get safely extracted. So no longer relying on the blood of innocence to continue functioning, which is always nice in a construct. So, made it easier for her to get around, and she seemed a little more relaxed and after that change, and after being able to destroy her creator, her evil creator, as it were. And after that, it's a quiet life in it's Massgate, right? Yeah. Where Skald has her shop. Penton spends some time meditating and trying to reacquaint himself with his mortal form. And at one point, while we were given this task of kind of going over what we were going to do with our futures, with our characters, I kind of accidentally wrote a whole bunch of stuff. So what's going to happen is that's going to end up being its own little vignette, as it were, as we play it out. And maybe you want to touch on more of that, about what that will be, the form that will be taking in the near future.
Yes. James went and wrote a masterpiece. I know he's immediately about to say no.
It's not a masterpiece.
He wrote a fantastic conclusion to his character, and I told him that I will not allow you to tell it here because it deserves its own separate thing.
And we don't have 6 hours.
Exactly, that too, because this is already going to be an incredibly long episode. Please, my wonderful listeners, the next thing you see on this feed will be the story of Penton and what happens to him next after what James has said, and it is absolute fire. You don't want to miss it.
Gosh.
Mm-hmm. So please be ready for that, and I can't wait for y'all to hear it. So keep an eye out for that. But I did save someone very purposefully for last. That was not. I know for whatever reason I would often introduce you last during the campaign, Lee, and I don't know why I did that. I often did.
Forget I was even here.
Or forget. I think I had done it already. But this time was not an accident. This is very much on purpose. I'd like you to talk a little bit about what's next for Corvus.
All right. I have a little thing written down here, which is why my voice will probably change, but yeah. With the fall of Falazure, Corvus was left with a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. Where was the rest of his family? Were they the same as him? Why was he not who he thought he was? Not to mention, was he still a wanted criminal? And of course, after his meeting with the Raven Queen, Corvus was also formulating a plan. A foolish plan. A plan that had the potential to do the world a lot of good if it succeeded, but would result in his demise if it failed. But first, Corvus sent out word that he was looking for his siblings, Rain on Flagstones, Boiling Cauldron, and Hummingbird Wingbeats. He also spoke to Tix and his rock elemental companion and ward Felzik, with the hope that if his siblings were also bound by the magics of the shackles, that they would be freed of the spell as well. Hummingbird was first to respond, coming to Kalimvor with her band of mercenaries. She hadn't been all that far away, and when she turned up in Kalimvor, she was shocked at yet another strange occurrence related to her brother. Hummingbird also revealed that she knew where Boiling Cauldron had been the last 13 years, and then he was on his way. Cauldron had found peace as a simple barley farmer. After a week, he arrived in Kalimvor and wept as he was reunited with his family, having spent much of his life in complete ignorance of their whereabouts. The three of them travelled with Tix and Felzik to Masgate and attended the wedding of their sister, Rain on Flagstones, who was a painter and had made a nice home with her gnome partner Jiri, an accomplished sculptor. With all the family gathered in Masgate, Corvus told his story and revealed that the shackles that each of them still wore were cursed and potentially keeping their true natures suppressed. Cauldron refused outright. His life was simple and he preferred it that way. He was happy living life as a Kenku and didn't feel it necessary to change. Upon hearing the news of the betrayal though, Flagstones and Jiri were taken aback, and Flagstones wept at the thought that she had somehow lied to her beloved husband. But the gnome's logical head reassured her that it was not her fault if she was cursed by the shackle. He knew in his heart who she was, and that wouldn't change if he decided to break the curse. Flagstones agreed, and Felzik gently ate the heavy binding from her ankle as Flagstone's husband held her talons tightly. But nothing happened, and Flagstone stayed her Kenku self. However, much later, unbeknownst to Corvus, the removal of the shackles meant that Flagstones and Jiri were able to have children. They had long thought that being from such different backgrounds, that starting a family would be impossible, and indeed many had said as much. However, half a year after the removal of the shackle, Flagstones laid a clutch of 3 eggs and a few months later had 3 Kenku daughters. Hummingbird initially refused, but after a day or so and with talks amongst her mercenary band eventually agreed. Each of her mercenary band had promised that were she to lose her current form, they would teach her how to be human. The whole turning into a raven bit would be on her, but they would teach her to speak, to write, and to regain her skills. With these affirmations, Hummingbird offered her ankle to Felzik, who ate the shackle with glee. The subsequent flash of light was so bright that the Masgate militia arrived with all weapons drawn, thinking the city was under magical attack. However, when the lights cleared, it was revealed that Hummingbird too was a were-raven. But she wasn't human. She was an elf. Specifically, it was revealed she was in fact an elven child. Incredibly long auburn hair down to her knees, thin pointed ears, delicate but also hard features, and with a similarly scarred but toned physique as Corvus that looked incredibly out of place on such a very young elven child. Quickly, Flagstones found better fitting clothes Hummingbird, and over the next few days Corvus stayed with her to help if she needed it. But, as he had come to find out during their initial reunion, Hummingbird was more than capable, and within 3 days was already talking in simple sentences and able to write in beautiful flowing script. She, of course, didn't have the help of a blue dragon. Within a week, she was back to practicing her martial arts forms and had dislocated Corvus's knee for getting too overprotective. She reminded him again that even though she looked like a child now, she wasn't a fledgling anymore, and Corvus simply agreed, wincing as he popped his knee back into place. She renamed herself Erethandia and daily was treated as a very precocious toddler by almost everyone she met, until her band of mercenaries, still fiercely loyal, would back her up and make it very clear that there was more going on than they were privy to. Sales of groin protectors increased by 200% over the months Erethandia remained in Masgate, and tales of a manhood-destroying elf child echoed throughout the city, over the years becoming an urban legend. At the departure dinner a few weeks after the wedding, Corvus revealed his plans to his fractured family. He told them he loved them all very dearly and thanked them for coming, for understanding who he was now. He also said it was most likely the last time he would see them all, so he was glad he got to see them again, to restore those who chose to be restored, to see his family thrive, and to know that they were all doing well. His family, looking worried, as his tone had changed and he was very somber, but for good reason. Corvus told of his plans to search the realms for very specific people, those who had nothing to lose, those with a singular fixation, a desire, and the means and abilities to make it happen. Those who had lost everything and who would jump at the opportunity to make the one responsible for their horrendous circumstances pay dearly. Corvus was planning a suicide mission to kill a god.
Absolutely fantastic. And everyone who is listening to this, if you want to hear the campaign coming up, the short mini campaign, where a group of ragtag adventurers try to find and kill Loth the Spider Queen against all odds without the Band of the Raven Queen or the Staff of Seraphim, buckle up. You're in for a ride. But again, I want to thank each and every one of my players. I do just want to open up very briefly. I know we've gone for an incredibly long time. As the Dungeon Master, I have to keep my mouth shut. Is there anything that y'all were curious about? Anything you want to say? Anything you want to know? Just a very quick little open up. If there's anything y'all would like to either say for yourself, or would you like me to say?
Something weighing on me is I want to be very clear is that Marezi does stay in contact with the other players. I mean, she's probably, by spans of years or months at not seeing them, and probably more often than not seeing them one at a time. But I do think, even though she's going on this quest of self-actualization, she, will always remember the connections that led her there.
I could not agree more. And given how magical many of these characters are, I think that that's something that absolutely happens.
And I think in the future, from time to time, Penton will call upon the assistance of one or more of you for various things that will make more sense in the future. Maybe not Corvus. I guess we'll see how that goes.
Yep. We're going to see how that goes. That we don't know how that's going to turn out. But yes, I like that idea that y'all, even though y'all do go your separate ways, that occasionally you do band together, one or two or even three, to take on a threat. Because again, this is just one of the many threats that exist in this world, where there are gods and demons and creatures from beyond the stars. So, yeah.
All right, my question, big question. What happened to the Cracklithid? Or can you not tell us?
I can't tell you.
Okay, writing this down, my next character needs to have a Cracklithid Killer as his magic item.
Yeah. Plus one sword, plus 20 versus Cracklithids. Yeah.
I was paying very close attention. Everything that y'all did, and one of the things that y'all did. By the way, the plan of Tradazis was you can't use the staff without it killing you. So the staff isn't very useful for an evil villain, because he can't give it to an underling, because then the underling goes, yeah, you should die.
Yeah.
So how do you get around that? Well, fortunately, the Kraken had already had this sort of pseudo-zombie army that was doing his bidding. And so he was modifying them. They were literally stuck to the giant tentacle, and he was modifying them so that they were sentient enough to obey his command, but not have enough willpower to have any of their own will. And so all of them had been tasked that if they got the staff to kill you, which is why that's what that one said before you destroyed it.
Right.
So when you noped out the tentacle, you literally, because that's what he was using to basically breed them or alter them. Mm-hmm. And then it just boop. And yes, that was Tradazis, because he was going to go up to you guys and go, oh yes, well, you have taken away my Cracklithid, so I have taken your mother. If you do not obey me, then she will die. But then you just killed him.
Yeah.
You just killed him. You just killed him so quick that he didn't get a chance to evil monologue you. You just straight up just rip. And y'all didn't believe that it was him, and very rightly so, because why should it be that easy? But yeah.
Our party had heard more than enough evil monologues back.
Yeah. You sure had.
We already know that if we let them talk, things get bad, so just don't let them talk.
Yeah, the one great weakness that these villains had was their hubris. each and every one thought that they were better than you. And some more so than others, but certainly Tradazis was one of them.
Can we get the elevator speech version of the tentacle god getting his tentacle back? Like Stella getting her groove back, demon god getting his tentacle back.
Well, I can tell you that when you dismiss something, it goes back to its place of origin.
That's all we're getting, huh? All right.
Yeah. And you successfully caused a unimaginably huge tentacle of the god of the Krakens. And, the Krakens are pretty evil, so what's their god like? He's literally known as the god of the severed tentacle. And now he's not.
Well, now he's got to rebrand that festival.
That's right. It's all the business cards have to be reprinted. So, as I always tell you, it's not everything, of course, but potentially everything that you do in this campaign has a consequence. For the most part, those were all really positive things, because like y'all choosing to help with the pearl, that I was just waiting for that. I was just waiting. And by the way, Benton was one of the ones, and again, very rightly so.
Yeah, I feel like I almost talked the group out of it.
Yeah, you tried to talk the group out of doing it. And by the way, that was a very reason. There was a time limit, and it was really important. And like this was the equivalent of going fishing for a side quest. And it's like, guys, we got stuff to do here. But if you had done that, then I would have done things slightly differently. But that essentially the entire town would have been destroyed.
Yay!
So that was really well done.
All right, so what would have happened if Tix had started using Destiny Seeker in the more bloody manner of augmenting spells?
Well, you would have become incredibly powerful. At the very least, all of your offensive spells would have doubled. You would have become a dark paladin. So you would have gained new abilities. And you would eventually you would lose your connection to Garl Glirgold. And I would allow you to choose a new deity that would make sense. But you would also paladin. Yeah, you would have lost the ability to heal, with the exception of certain necromantic healing.
Right.
I didn't bother with the details of that because I didn't think it was very likely, but that was where we were going, is you would lose the ability to heal others, except at the expense of someone else, draining their life.
Right.
So that was the direction that was going.
I'm glad we didn't go that way.
Yeah.
It easily could have, because that sort of sword or that sort of entity plays the long game. They are essentially immortal, and their job wasn't to get you overnight. It was to slowly corrupt you.
Okay, I don't know if we've covered this. I really don't, but I keep coming back to it. What happened with the stuff that we gave Baba Yaga? What was she trying to use it for? What?
Oh, yeah.
What, I need to know. I gave her a false feather, but, we all gave her stuff. And,
so, your dungeon master... Your dungeon master was juggling a lot of things at that final battle. I did intend to actually cut to more of the things you've encountered. It's kind of like a raising of the stakes, and I just kind of forgot. But I didn't forget about that one. And she was going to... She knew what was going to happen. She knew that Falazure was coming into our world, and she was going to use that as a surge of magic energy to cast an incredibly powerful spell. And I'm not going to tell you what that spell was, but it failed. And it failed spectacularly. But the thing is, in that instant, the reason it failed was because of the feather, and the feather just vanished. So she knows why it failed. She knows exactly why it fails. And Baba Yaga is not a god, but she's easily equivalent to a demigod. She is incredibly powerful.
She's
and
high
she is
fae.
essentially, yeah, she is high fae. You didn't even get to what was under her hat. And one of the things, as someone who has read a lot of fairy stories, like old fairy stories, is you encountered her in her aspect as a kindly grandmother. Which, she was still incredibly evil and was, like, murdering people casually while talking to you. But it's sort of, like, with the Fae, it's kind of like a little cycle. And you caught her on a good day, shall we put it. And she was also predisposed to you because even though she hated the Boo Hag, because the Boo Hag stole her ability to create a hut like this from her, she was very partial to Audrey. She really liked Audrey. So she was a little more partial to you because of it. But not anymore. But something very bad happened to her because that spell failed. But if she comes back, she, most importantly, above all, she will be looking for Corvus. Or I should say, she'll be looking for Distant Bells. But, she's not going to be very kindly disposed towards any of y'all either. Yeah. But I actually said in that last battle part that her house collapsed in on itself and vanished.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Never trust the Fae.
With her in it.
Ooh.
What's that?
Never trust the Fae.
Oh, God, no. No, do not ever. No. And especially one as wily as Baba Yaga.
Especially one who wants part of your essences. Or whatever they might be. Like, no.
Yeah.
No. You don't do that. That's... No.
Now, I will say, like, this was not a, haha, I got your soul kind of thing. Like, she really just wanted those powers. She wanted I love the way you put it. I hadn't visualized that in my head. You said God touched. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what she wanted. But she wanted it for a spell. She didn't want it to use against y'all, specifically.
And I guess we're not going to find out what that spell was that she wanted to do.
Nope, but you might later. we're going to pick up in that same world with the next campaign. So,
yeah, I have a note here. Tell us,
yes.
DM, the story of Finley Brine.
Of Finley Brine.
Of whom we found a message in a bottle.
Ah, you remembered.
I have notes in my notes.
I will try to be succinct. A long time ago, in Kalimvor, there was a group of pirates. Do you remember outside of the temple of Chronipsis? You fought some of you fought some random skeleton pirates, undead pirates. Or I should say, sailors. This was the adventure where Merezi was with Dinwolf, where we had a guest player.
Ah.
Yeah. At the very beginning of that, you actually fought some zombie pirates. So these pirates went north because they had been chased off by the people of Kalimvor. Finley was asking for aid against these pirates, and if things had just gone differently, like there are just so many little plot threads that I laid out there for later, you would have found this whole story out. The pirates essentially found this group of monks or devotees to Chronipsis. Well, Chronipsis doesn't talk. He's not interested in the workings of man. He's just interested in the proper flow of fate. And so these pirates were just basically lording over these monks and just being horrible to them. And they finally got sick of it, and they opened a portal to try and summon something to drive them off. And they were the ones who accidentally opened the portal to Falazure.
Oh.
And that do you remember, Penton, when you found that window that had like the kind of gross little vines growing around it, and it's where you sent the Orb of Annihilation through.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was the portal. That was the original portal. That was why all of this started. So it was Finley was part of a group who were being harried by these pirates, and they eventually drove off the pirates and sent them north. The pirates were being awful to these monks who were defenseless, and they were like, hey, maybe we can open this portal to our god or, another one of the dragon deities, which they did, just to the very wrong one. And that's what started the corruption. That's why those pirates had the baleful blue eyes. And that's why there was a skeleton in that temple, and that skeleton was kind of an avatar of Falazure.
So they were like patient zero, basically.
Exactly. And in fact, if you remember, there was one paladin, a very incredibly old dragonborn who was being kept alive, essentially to torment. And that was the last remaining devotee. He had basically he had come there to help them, but he had just been captured because it was too late. And Falazure kept him. Falazure really hates all of the other dragon gods, but he really hates Chronipsis because Chronipsis is I don't care about you, and I also know what's going to happen to you. And Falazure was like, no, you don't. I'm going to circumvent all of this.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And so that is actually why, technically, all of that time, that symbol you kept coming across with the scratch through it, was basically just Chronipsis' symbol with a scratch through it. So it wasn't Falazure's symbol. It was this new symbol of I deny the fate that is before me, that is coming for Falazure, because Chronipsis knows that he was going to fall in your hands. And Falazure didn't know that, but he knew that he had a fate that was awaiting him that he wanted to circumvent.
Whoa.
And that's why his new symbol was literally just the eye, which is the symbol of Chronipsis, knowing the future, a god of fate, like a Norn, with a scratch through it, saying, no, I deny this. There you go.
That's awesome.
Very interesting.
I'd like to think that Sphere of Annihilation is just rolling on to this day, wreaking havoc through that plane.
Technically, his realm has no end. So yeah, it's just rocking and rolling there, and every once in a while, a lich will go, yeah, and then bonk, and just be annihilated by it. Yep, I support this. I did want to tell you all just one other quick thing. It's not important, but I want you to know it. This is where things intersect of what I planned out and what just happens. So I did plan to have the chicken hut. That was always part of my plan. But I then rolled a random encounter to determine what would be inside, which is why there was such a hodgepodge of things inside. And one of those, literally in the random encounter roll, was a wyvern in a bottle. And I was like, that's amazing. And so I worked that into the story. Audrey is a construct, but the parts of Audrey that are biological was originally a wyvern.
Oh.
So Audrey is not a wyvern, but Audrey has she doesn't really remember what she used to be, but there is remember when y'all got reined in and all turned into animals? Mm-hmm. Audrey turned into a wyvern.
Oh,
yeah. And so she intrinsically understands that she has a connection to this bottle, which is why she was not willing to get rid of it.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah. So I always planned on having the chicken hut, but I did not plan. And by the way, I did not plan on having the chicken hut become a central key element of your campaign. It was just going to be this funny little thing, kind of like when a video game character jumps into a mech for a while and runs around. I didn't actually super intend y'all to keep it. That was all on you.
Now we're the hut nuts.
You're the hut. I mean, that is how the people know your party, and wonderful. As the listeners will know, the wonderful real life bard Fugly did a synopsis of y'all, who of course composed the Chicken Shack song.
Okay, this occurred to me halfway through this ask me anything. One thing that you told me you couldn't tell me, like, this was like at least 3 years ago, like a million years ago. That there was a drow character, and I believe she had a big hat, who was based on some sort of like famous like story or nursery rhyme or something, but you said you couldn't tell me because it would be obvious. I don't even remember the context of what this drow was from, but for secret reasons, I'm interested in hearing the drow-related lore of our world. What was it based on?
I don't remember. I don't remember this reference. I am so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't remember either. I barely remember.
Zuana had the Hat of Disguise, which she took back from Osokai before he died. But I can't remember.
That's fine.
What we were talking about.
I want to. Yeah.
Part of a campaign this long.
I'm gonna grill you out of
Sure.
Recording time about drow stuff, but
Sure.
What was the name of the god that Aki was important to?
Oh, it's Sioma or Sioa. I can't. It's the lizard god. I apologize. My brain won't.
The god of the
say
lizard
it.
people? Okay. So not just god of lizards.
Each of the major those gods put a little bit of their essence into the Staff of Seraphony. It's Semuanya. Semuana, I think. I'm sorry, Samunya, I think. Anyway, I never knew how to pronounce it. But it looks like a giant lizard man. And again, it just depended on y'all's choices. There was a tribe of lizard folk. And this was going to be a little clue for you guys, that when they met you, obviously Aki is with you, Merezi. They were all going to kneel when they see Aki with you and call you princess. And it was going to be like a little joke because you're like, I'm not really a princess, and because it's obvious they're all bowing to you because Aki is attached to you. But I was going to be like throwing in a little hint that like your character is a princess. Mm-hmm. Which again, I have to give major props to Lee, who basically figured all of that out just while spitting the ball when you were taking the ship back to Kalimvor. You just kind of worked it all out. That like, oh, wouldn't that be funny if King Alam and Merezi's mom were a couple? And that's exactly, they weren't a couple, but they coupled.
Drunken tryst.
Yes, it was a very temporary thing, which is why she didn't think anything of it, and why she assumed that Dinwolf was the father.
Yeah, probably happened
because they were together for a while,
within a little bit of each other.
Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned very briefly, Lee, when Osokai went into the bunting disguised as a bear, there were two figures who came out of the bunting, and one of them was King Tezrin.
Alam?
I'm sorry, King Alam. Yes, it was King Alam, who had been just visiting that dancing troll.
Woo!
No.
He had a thing for large women.
For large women, not just large women. Large women.
Yes. Well, of course, Dinwolf also has large,
including giants.
Including giants, but
you know how we close this circle, and it's not a good closing of the circle. Denwolf and Alarm are brothers.
They could. It would make sense. They certainly have similar sensibilities.
Because they have the same tastes. I mean, it's not a good closing of the circle if you think just a little bit about it, but it is.
It would make a certain amount of sense.
Well, they're definitely kissing cousins.
Dinwolf is the bastard son of the previous king.
There you go. The bastard son. And we explain why he was in Beltrain when obviously Beltrain it's almost a continent, and the kingdom of Beltrain is a large area which they claim ownership of, but of course, again, being D&D, don't actually have command over all of it, because that also includes the Mugra clan's territory. And obviously, the Mugra clan does not bow to King Alam.
By the way, I'm a complete idiot. I was working on Penton's epilogue, and I was like exploring like what kind of things he might be doing. Like he would get back into his meditating and maybe like meditate about some of the other major dragons, because there's like a whole list and the whole thing where they have like different little abilities that you can gain for the day. And one of the names on that list was Falazure. His name was just sitting right in front of me from day one.
Wow. That's amazing. And I sent y'all, because I found it when I was going through my notes, that I printed off, before the campaign started, the name Falazure, because I knew I would forget it, because it's such a weird name.
Right.
And I knew, like, it was always my plan that I wanted y'all to think that it was the god Set for as long as possible. And y'all didn't actually know that it wasn't him until Penton stuck his head through a portal. That was the first inkling that the god Set was dead.
Right.
He was the big stinking corpse, right?
Right.
It was the big stinking corpse.
I drew that.
Yeah.
I drew dead Set and didn't even know it was Set.
You did, because you didn't know that it was him at the time. Exactly.
You were dead set upon it.
You were dead upon it. But Falazure had been opposed to these gods for some time, and then it escalated. What happened is when he killed Set, he became much more powerful. So he took a lot of Set's power, so they were already like starting to be outmatched. But then, when Zental Keep was destroyed. So when y'all first met what's the Rock Boys, the Zorn, with the portal for a mouth, that was literally just feeding souls to Falazure to increase his power. But when Zental Keep was destroyed, he gained the power of all of those souls simultaneously. And so from that moment over, like, your gods were actively losing. And, every day that was a delay brought them closer to destruction. They were just going to lose.
So they didn't realize in causing the destruction of Zental Keep that they were empowering him.
Well, they didn't cause it. He did.
Oh, I thought it was a punishment from the good gods. Oh.
Well, they knew that they couldn't stop it because he had become too powerful, and that was his goal. Was he was constructing these quote unquote defenses in Zental Keep, Massgate, and Kalimvor, and he was going to trigger them to, they were going to defend themselves, and in doing so, open this portal, and he could nom all of those souls and just give him incredible power, because he is literally a god of death and decay. And so he gained incredible powers when Zental Keep was destroyed. But that portal that was in Zorn's mouth. That was what led me to that was going to be his plan. And I wanted to have that moment where you all realize. What I wanted was the moment where someone who was at Zental Keep realizes, oh shit, this is the same thing. I wanted that moment to happen, and then it did.
Speaking of Zental Keep, does that ever get rebuilt?
It was in the process of being rebuilt, yes. Because the Goddess of Luck, she wasn't able to save everyone, but sent a premonition and was able to get that priestess and several, a few hundred people were able to get out. And so it is going to be rebuilt. Considerably less racist now.
Good.
Yeah. Because most of the horrible people were in Falazure's tum-tum.
Could we have Osvalor and Petniak go back and become the mayor of that city? Newly founded Zental Keep again. Just close that circle off because I feel like that's important.
I love it. I love that. It was because Tix and Morezi went back and they were already like starting the process of not rebuilding the city yet, but just putting the community back together. So yeah,
In a hole in the ground.
yeah. It was. I mean, when I say like the city was destroyed, like it was not like just like hit with a bomb, like it was destroyed because everything caught in that portal momentarily intersected with the plane of the god of death, and that's not really good for anything. That when you found that Roper where Dinwolf was, that was like basically a test run. That was like Alamo, Los Alamos. That was just like a test to see if it worked right. And
The Drow twins. Whatever happened to them?
they have gone on to great fame. They have become this famous twins who became heroes and learned to tolerate the light and they have become famous heroes of the elven god. Is it Caleb? I don't know how to say his name.
He's had a soft
the
spot
main
for
one,
them
right?
for some reason.
Yeah. No, he had a soft spot for them. And he is a paladin and she is a cleric. Or a druid. I'm sorry, a druid. To him. Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look for names.
Yeah, I do have them in the wiki, but I don't have them in my head.
Talon and Brindle?
Yeah, it's Talon and Brindle.
Talon and Brindle.
Very good.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
they went on to, and they were there psychically at that fireplace when y'all were in the frozen north.
Like I said, I had a soft spot for them because we rescued them from a sacrifice. Like, we made them who they are, and like, I don't know, just they always stuck out in my mind as like these rehabilitated these drow who consistently fight against their nature and and become better people, like far better people than they ever possibly could have been, while still retaining like the little mementos that Osakai and Tix gave them.
Yeah. By the way, Zuana absolutely was going to return them to the Underdark.
Oh yeah.
Because she didn't dare disobey Loth. What happened was, at the beginning of the campaign, there was supposed to be one more party member. And that party member was slain on the battlefield. So y'all were one short. And so, like, they were... The gods were trying to orchestrate all this, like, with the thinnest of hair of success. And then you're one down. They're like, oh, you're all going to die. And so they sent Zuana to help. And that's why she was with y'all for a while. Is basically to try and... Because the other one was a thief. Was like a rogue type character. A changeling who was killed on the battlefield. And if you look back, like when Princess Alviana looks at all of you as she's aging, she says, there was supposed to be one more.
Yeah,
She
I
gets
remember
really worried. Yeah, and while many might be able to look up Dungeons and Dragons lore and discover these things, one of the things that I will not say is who the heck that guy was, Riley. Not saying. You know why? Because it might be relevant to the next campaign. Not saying it will, not saying it won't, but it might.
It tickles a something way in the back of my brain.
I did like that you thought that it might be Falazure. Because they don't look dissimilar. I mean, obviously, like if you put them together, like you could tell they're not the same, but they both have that like I am devilishly handsome, but I'm evil kind of look.
Yeah.
So it was a reasonable hypothesis, but no, they were two different entities, and he was very actively trying to get Athora to use that staff, and if she had, things would have gone very differently.
Speaking, question
I love how hard you played into that, Riley. It was
I was going to say, good question for Riley. How far were you willing to go? Like,
I was completely just having fun. Like, yeah, that would make sense. Let's just have her do that.
Yeah,
'Cause
I thought it was great.
The way you played that so straight, just consistently falling for Catra, even with ample amounts of evidence in front of your face that she was completely evil, just going completely along with it. And I was just like, dang, that's... Alright, okay. Well played. Well played. I was like really impressed. Like that was some great
I will tell you one thing, Athora, is Catra really did like you. She didn't want you to die. She said that to you once, Corvus. But you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that she likes her. But like she's like, I am here to make sure that she stays alive. But you can't be a creature of certain places and just go like, well, I'm good now. It just doesn't really work that way, you know. But she did really like you, and that was because of you. It was because of everything you did. You were actually like, if things had been able to progress at a natural rate, like over a very long time, you might have even been able to turn her. But at the end of the day, she could not disobey.
Aw.
So just saying. Just saying.
Yeah. I had no clue of... I was just playing along like...
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was very well done. It was really good role-playing.
I'm sitting here while we're going through this whole... She's literally telling you, get the two halves of the Staff of Seraphim, and like, you're just going with it, and I'm like, no, stop! Corvus is literally seeing this evil cat, because he's seen this thing's true, at least the shadow of its true self. He's like, you ain't doing that. No, you're not. She's not having that. I'm just like, I don't like going against party members, unless it's Tix. Just like that was only as Osakai. Corvus was fine. But like I was literally sitting here. This is going against everything we are as a group, and you just to Corvus, it just looked like you were casually like, yeah, it's fine. I'll just hand over all these souls to the devil. It's fine. I'm whatever. I was like, no, don't. So I was like, no, it's not happening. I'm antagonizing this cat and doing my best to at least try and show Athora that this cat did not have her best interests at heart, until eventually I just got sick of it and was like, I'm just throwing a knife at this thing. I don't care. I'm done. I'm so done. But I have to commend Riley for, like, not, like I said it before, everybody grew, but seeing Riley come into her own, playing with all of us old fogies and holding her own and going from someone who didn't really talk all that much at the start to really getting in and elbowing people out of the way to play the game. It's just like, I'm proud of everyone and especially Riley for just really digging in and trying something like this. So
I could not agree more.
And watching both of the youngest members grow up, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
It's very weird.
6 years for Izzy,
documenting.
5 years for Riley.
Yeah.
All of my high school and now 2 years of my college.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And
as the third youngest, I feel old.
well, and I cannot stress this enough. I've said this in some way to many of you, but you know, if for any reason you ever need to quit, like obviously that's the way the world works. But what I am so happy to tell everyone is that one, there is going to be an absolutely insane mini quest that's going to be multi-episodes you are not going to want to miss, that is directly related to what happened to Corvus at the end of this campaign. And it is going to be bonkers.
That's for sure.
And I will not tell you what the next campaign is going to be like, because what you do in this mini episode is going to shape that.
No pressure.
No
And
pressure
one of
at
the fun
all.
parts is that we're keeping a secret from the DM exactly what our characters are going to be.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I'm very much looking forward to it. So I want everyone out there, first of all, one more time, thank you to all of my wonderful players. Thank you to each and every one of you. You guys are just amazing. And I'm
thank you.
continuously blown away.
Thank you to you for, you have juggled so many things in the air, from balls to knives to fire to all kinds of stuff. That, keeping it all straight, I can't imagine that, but you have consistently, for 6 years, rolled with all our stupidity, all our impressive
Wackadoodle
attempts
ideas.
at trying to... Yeah, absolutely impressive attempts at trying to ruin everything that you've set up, and you've just taken it all in stride and just... We will never, ever forget the absolute... That tiny... You didn't hear it, we did. That tiny little whine as Tix blew up your bone golem. We heard it. We heard it. You won't admit it, but we heard it. We did everything we possibly can, as all RPG players do, to ruin your plans, and you just kept on trucking. And at any stage, you could have just I'm done. I can't, and you haven't. And I want to say thank you for putting up with all of us and all of our shenanigans over this entire campaign. So yeah,
You made it all worth it to on Saturday and Sunday afternoons to be sitting there listening and editing to get everything out. It was a tremendous amount of fun, and every moment was worth it.
Well, I've learned a lot about being a DM from you, and I appreciate your taking us through and the fun that you've had. The previous DM that Riley started out with was much more brutal and a lot less fun. So we really appreciate your style and your storytelling and everything that goes into making this campaign. So thank you, Michael.
I really appreciate that. And I specifically, I have listened to podcasts with brutal DMs. And I said, I would never do that. And this next little mini campaign is my excuse to take the gutters off and say, what if I was? What if I was? And just be evil for a little bit.
start the meat grinder.
Yep, absolutely. Both literally and figuratively.
This is where we find out Lolth is at the bottom of the Tomb of Horrors.
There you go. And I want to be clear that anything can happen, and that everything is possible, and that anyone can die. Obviously, that's always true, but I
just want to leave off to remind our viewers that Corvus still has a deck of cards.
He does. Got
Yeah,
it from another realm.
So
You do.
I also want to extend my thanks to the storyteller who inspires me to be a storyteller as well, and obviously, very heartfelt. And more than that, honestly, what I'm feeling right now is gratefulness for a DM who can get us all in one place fairly regularly for 6 freaking years.
Oh,
it's a feat
yeah.
in and of itself.
Well, and half of that, I want to remind everybody, the very first time we met to play, I forgot. And I just forgot, and I just went, and we rescheduled it for a week later. But so I've always tried very, very hard to be punctual and on time.
Also for everyone as well. This is just an aside for me though, but everyone's come really far in their technical ability too. Mm-hmm. Do you remember our very first recording?
I may post that, by the way. I still have it.
Oh, wow.
Listeners, we did a test footage just because I had never done a multi-track recording like this before at that time. And I didn't know if I could do it or not. And so we just did a test recording where I had the players fight a troll under a bridge.
Oh wow,
And
yeah, that's what we did.
I still have
God.
it. Yeah, I still got it. And so
There's some
I
bonus
might
content for
publish
you.
that. There you
Yeah,
go.
there you go. Wow, yeah, like oh.
So if you
But yeah,
want to hear that, head on to Patreon, and
That's right.
this is the type of extra content we can give to you. Thank you all for your support.
Yes, thank you all for our Patreon supporters. In the next campaign, we are going to be much more active about our Patreon and the extra content that we provide to you. So we appreciate that.
And
But let me let everyone go to bed. Again, thank you to my players. Thank you all to our wonderful, wonderful listeners. Everyone out there, from people like Duke and the many others who messaged me on the various social medias about different campaigns and random moments and things that they loved. We love that. Podcasting is a very lonely existence. It's sort of, you send it out into the void and then you don't really hear anything. So every single one of those messages was very, very well received, and I would very often share those with the players. So just so you know, whenever y'all message me something, I would often share it with the players as well. So thank you.
Thank you all so much.
We're all trying not to end, but we got to end now. We got to stop. Thank you all for the end of the first campaign of Chafing Armor. Dun 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 dun.
Dun, dun,
Stay
dun.
Stay tuned. There is a crazy middle adventure coming, and then the launch of the next campaign. But until then, I have been your dungeon master, Michael Corley.
both irascible and lovable.
And I, by the
Mostly
way,
just
I
those two.
specifically am going to come up with 2 new ones for the next campaign.
Yes.
I've been considering. I would like, in turn, each person to sign out. Izzy.
Thank you all so much for listening.
I'm really gonna miss doing this voice! I've got 2 new voices to do, but they're not as fun as this one!
It's gonna be a blast. And Lee.
You will see me very, very soon, but until then, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. And Riley.
Thank you so much for listening and watching all of us grow, especially me. This is Riley and Athora signing out.
Thank you. And Dare.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate y'all so much. We were in Texas. I'm trying to stop saying y'all. And so for the new campaign, I will have new sign-ons and new sign-offs, but I will still always thank the DM for not killing us.
Just wait till this in-between campaign. And finally, James.
This has been so much fun. It continues to be very bizarre to me that these characters that we have created live in anyone else's heads at all in any way, shape, or form. That it freaks me out, and I love it. I'm so glad everyone's been listening. It's been a lot of fun listening to everybody grow in this campaign and do the insane things that they've done over the last 6 years. And it's been an excellent pleasure for me, and I can't wait to get to the mini campaign where we get to present to you unmitigated min-maxing violence.
All right. Until then, we will roll with you soon.